right, there we go. So, hi everybody, and this morning I am going to be live coding improvements to, or bug fixes, to SPBlitz first, and we'll see what other scripts come out on that I want to go play around with. So first off, I'm going to be opening up at firstresponderkit.org the GitHub repo so that I can go see what changes I want to make. And I know which ones I want to work on because it just so happens that I actually found this first couple sets that are in here this morning while working with a client. So we'll start out up here. SPBlitz first, wait time per core per second may not be rounding correctly. When you run SPBlitz first, it tells you what's going on the SQL Server right now, which also includes information about things like what your top wait types are, what your top file stats are, all that good stuff. So let's see it in action first. I need to be able to reproduce the problem that I'm trying to solve. So let's go hop in, do new query, and I'm going to run SPBlitz first, just with the defaults, except I'm going to add in expert mode equals 1 as well. Now what SPBlitz first does is it takes a snapshot of a whole bunch of wait stats, file stats, perfmod counters, whatever, into a table, waits for 5 seconds, then takes another snapshot to see what happened between that time span. And I've been really suspicious for a while about this per core per second column. This was added early last year, and it doesn't make a difference who added it. It wasn't me, but I probably would have coded the same thing. I remember approving it myself, but I don't think that it actually works. Now what that means is for every second on the clock, how many seconds of time is SQL Server spending waiting on stuff? And the worse, the higher the number is, the harder the SQL Server is working. Well, I need some kind of test rig first to at least make SQL Server wait on things to make it work kind of hard. So let's start by writing a little demo query. I got the Stack Overflow databases on here. Let's go start writing a demo query that'll actually put this thing under some load. So let's go select count star from DBO posts. And let's do something like let's make SQL Server uppercase something or shred a string. Now post is one of the larger tables in the database, so it should force SQL Server to scan through some things here. We'll say where upper of last editor display name equals Brent Ozar. I don't even know if I've got one in there. So let's go we'll set statistics IO on, set statistics IO and time on. And let's go run the query and go see what our wait stats look like. So I expect this to take at least a few seconds. Now, while it runs, let's see just if we get lucky and see if we can catch SPBlitz first, showing something. Now, as a reminder, I said SPBlitz first takes a snapshot of a whole bunch of DMVs, waits for 5 seconds, and then takes another snapshot. Oh, this one doesn't look too bad, but it doesn't look too accurate. Well, kind of. Okay, so hold on a second here. So what do these numbers represent? There were 5 seconds of waits. And if I remember right, I'm dealing with a 4-core SQL server. It's been a while since I've looked at this particular VM's hardware setup. Let's go see. 4 cores. Okay, so there are 4 cores and 5 seconds worth of wait time. So that means that in 5 seconds, those 4 cores could have at least produced 20 seconds of wait time, if not more, because of course you can have multiple queries stacked up on multiple cores. At first glance, this looks okay. I've got wait types in here. I was really worried that this was a rounding issue. But if I had, say, I'm going to type it out just so that y'all can see how my thought process works. So I have here 5 seconds sampled, 4 cores. That means 20 core seconds of waits are not only possible, but much higher than that are possible. And what we're trying to measure is if I had 2 seconds of a wait inside that time span, so 2 seconds of wait time, 2 seconds divided by 20, 2 seconds of waits divided by 20 seconds of, oh, I got to turn off I just turned down the stream, or turned down my music, but I didn't pause it. Wondered why it was still showing that it was playing tracks. I have different feelings about live coding with live music going on in the background. Sometimes I like it, like if I'm in the right headspace. I'm not playing it today though. So I have 2 seconds of wait time in 20 seconds of waits. Well then that select 2.0 divided by 20 equals, you can't just put out the equals there, it's 0.1, and that's exactly what was shown on the results. So I actually think that when I reported this, when I went back and saw this issue happening, I don't think it's actually an issue. I think that somebody hadn't updated their SPBlitz first, maybe. I'm going to try one other thing, though, to check and see about this 0.0. I'm going to try another thing, which is I'm going to go look at since startup equals 1. SQL Server, there's another parameter inside SPBlitz first. If I say SPBlitz first since startup equals 1, then that will check your wait stats since SQL Server started up. And I expect here on this one to be 0.0 just because my SQL Server hasn't been working that hard. It hasn't been up for very long. I may have to do some work in order to test that later. Well, let's go take a look at the code just to see if anything's suspicious. Don't be suspicious about what's going on inside there. So it's per core per hour. Let's go fire open GitHub. So I've got, normally I work on Linux, or I'm sorry, normally I work on Mac, but I'm trying to work inside this VM to kind of meet you where you are, because I know that most of you are using Windows rather than Linux or Mac. Although I should ask you, so in terms of the chat, tell me over in the chat, do you use, when you code for SQL Server, when you're writing T-SQL code, do you use Windows, Mac, or Linux on the desktop? And then also, what do you code in? Or are you still using SQL Server Management Studio like I am here, or have you moved on to Azure Data Studio? Fam says Windows, cool. And I have a sense that most people actually still are using Windows, at least from when I poll my training class students. So let's see here. Let's look. I've got the latest version of the first responder kit. Fam Dave says Management Studio. Okay, cool. So let's see where I've got this. So I've just started using this particular OS. And let's see here. I've got my first responder kit. Eamon says Windows and SSMS as well. Makes sense. Let's go see what's going on in SPBlitz first. So let's fire open the T-SQL. And we call that, when it comes out, we call it per core per hour. And so let's go to a control F for per core per hour and go see what we find. Okay, so here's the code that's doing it. And I'm going to just kind of paste or move this out a little bit so that we can see what's going on with it. And so what it's doing, so it's subtracting a couple of passes of wait times. You know how I said that SPBlitz first takes a sample of a bunch of wait stats, wait for 5 seconds, takes another snapshot, and then subtracts between the two to see what happened during that time span? That's what's happening here, is it's taking pass number 2 minus pass number 1, and then it's dividing it by 1,000 to get seconds instead of milliseconds. Then it's dividing that by 60 divided by core count. It's getting the date difference in seconds as per core per hour. Okay, so it's getting that divide. Why are we dividing that by 60 by 60? That seems suspicious to me if this is in seconds and this is dividing by 60 twice. I'm like, I don't think that's actually true. I think something's going on here that's kind of funky. I think the first happened a sign of okay that we saw just there when I did a sample. I think I might have been a little bit mistaken. Let's go try this a little bit deeper. Well, let's check and see if that per core per hour shows up anywhere else inside the document. So per core per hour, we found it once. That's the only point. Okay, so this is the culprit. That seems really suspicious to me. Let's take that formula and let's just copy paste it into a new window and let's think through it. So let's say, just to say, that we had 5,000 seconds or 5,000 milliseconds of wait time in the second sample, and we'd had 1 second, 1,000 milliseconds in the second. Let's make the numbers way bigger. Let's say 60 seconds. So this is 60 seconds worth of wait time, and there had been 30 seconds cumulative wait time right up to the prior pass, because we have to take the 2 passes. So we had altogether, I should make the numbers even different so that it's easier to explain to y'all. So let's say inside this time span then, we had 30 seconds of waits. 30 seconds of waits, which would be 30,000 milliseconds. Let's get the numbers right. Milliseconds. So if we took that, divided by 1,000 is going to give us 30 seconds. Divided by 60 twice. What the heck am I doing that for? So that would give us something really weird. That would give us 0.5 minutes. Divided by 60 gives us, that's like less than, it's a tiny portion of an hour. Select 0.5 divided by 60. Let's go ahead and get the right number so our thing looks right. That is 0.008 hours. Okay, so that's where the bug is. I'm basically just dividing out way too much here, especially given that up here, the date difference is in seconds. That's the problem. I don't need to divide this by 60 twice. I bet that's what it is. Okay, so to prove it out, let's run out our formula here. So let's say select, and I'm going to copy the exact thing out. Select. So I'm going to take good old-fashioned math. Let's say that this is 90,000 divided by, or minus 60,000, divided by 1,000, divided by 1,000, divided by core CPU count. That's going to be 4 in my case. And then let's say that the date difference in seconds between these two times is 5. Let's say that it's a 5-second sample. Okay, so 5, boom. So that should give me my wait time per core per core per hour. That's messed up because I already know what I'm doing. Okay, so that's 0. Then, and which is incorrect because what I had here was I had 30 seconds of wait time across the span of a 5-second gathering. That should be greater than 0. So there's my problem. Let's try taking out those two 60s and execute. Now it's 1.5. I say that that's correct. Just to double check out, select 4 cores times 1.5 per core, which in this case is per second, times 5 seconds. Equals 30. Oh, the numbers match. Oh, man, I suck at math. I suck really bad at math. Like it's a constant running joke in our training classes to the point where people are like, I don't, can you get out a calculator? Because I don't really trust your math. So what's going on? Why is it that those 2 seconds are inside or 2 60s are inside of there? My guess is that before this change was made of doing this into decimals, I bet that this might have been captured at a higher level. Like we might have been catching, yeah, Richie says, good, you're bad at math. It's a good thing that you're a DBA. When I first went into college, I went in for accounting, which would have been even funnier. I thought I was going to be an accountant and study economics too as well, and I was going to go over to Germany because Russia was falling and the German wall was falling, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, I'm going to go over and I'm going to bring capitalism to the communists. And I'm going to teach them about, accounting and math and all that. I don't know why I thought economics would have been a good idea, either accounting or economics for me, because I got into my first accounting class and I was like, I don't really care about making the balance sheet balance down to the penny. That's just not my thing. Can we just put in an entry here and go, it's beer 30, we're going to move on. We're going to let that 2 cents go. Yeah, that didn't work out. So then I'm like, oh, well, I just dropped out because I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. But thank God I didn't try to go into computers because computer science is all entirely math and my eyes just glaze over. Database administration, none of that. We don't have to be right. All we have to do is just be really, really confident. That's not entirely true either. Okay, so where that came from, that's kind of an oddball thing. Oh, I should show you something kind of cool, because some of you may not be used to this, especially the database administrators in the house. Let's go over and look at the first responder kit, and you can look in, so I'm in GitHub now. This is where we keep the source code for the first responder kit. And I'm going to go click on SPBlitz first. There's got a neat feature over here, blame. So you can click blame and you can see when any given line changed and what its differences were. So if you didn't know what check-in was involved in like how a line got to be the way that it did, I could do a search in here for per core per hour or per core per second. And then there it is. There's the line right there. And then I can see, okay, this line is Eric Darling, revert fixing an older bug. July 2016. I actually didn't think it was him. I thought it was somebody else. But that's kind of funny because Eric is way better at T-SQL than I am. I bet the revert of fixing an older bug, it's probably something that I did. He's probably fixing a code that I did that was probably even worse. And you can see more about those past check-ins like clicking on that line. So I'm going to go pop out of here though. What I thought it was actually in was I thought it was about this other ticket. There was another issue that we did around showing these as decimal values instead of integers. So that's kind of funny how it showed up as something else. Okay, so I need to create a batch or a branch for this and check in my code. I'm going to make changes to that. So let's close this so that I can undo all the little changes that I did, and let's open that again from scratch. Let's find the per core per hour, and then what I need to do is take out the 60 and 60. Boom, and there we go. So now let's switch over into the master database, execute that. So that worked. SPBlitz first. Yeah, we'll just start there. Expert mode equals 1. Now I need to have some kind of load running when I go off and do this. So I need to go fire open a query again, select count star from, switch over to post, Stack Overflow. From DBO posts, where upper last editor display name equals Brent Ozar. So we'll go and execute that. The reason that I like using this one just for now is I know that I don't have an index on that column. So I can go, this will enforce it to do a big ugly table scan, and the upper forces SQL Server to do a whole lot of CPU work as it rips through those pages. So let's give it a shot. So I'm going to go say execute. I'm going to go over to my SPBlitz first window. It's going to take that 5-second sample, and let's see what it goes and comes up with and see if its math is right. Okay, so in this shot, I had a 4-second sample. So select, I had 4.6 seconds of wait time. So I'm going to say 4.6 seconds of wait time divided by 4 cores divided by 4 seconds of waits. This should equal out 0.3. Let's see if it does. It does. Woohoo! Now, the next thing that I want to do is I want to take a longer sample because I have a hunch that the further apart the sample was, that's what really caused this thing to go haywire. I'm going to tell this to go 10 times. This query took 32 seconds. Oops, 30. Still getting used to which side to point at. Took 32 seconds in order to execute, so I don't need to run it 10 times. I can just run it twice, and it'll go off and do its thing. Execute, and now take a 60-second sample of waits. The thing that I love the longer samples for is for when you're doing load testing. If you're doing load testing, you can set up a longer sample so that you don't see weird outliers of, oh, I just happen to have a short burst of slow storage due to a bunch of VMs competing for the same network cards or whatever. Just longer samples that you get tend to produce more accurate numbers. While that does its thing, we'll switch over to GitHub. So I need to create a new branch for the code that I'm working on. So right now I'm working in the dev branch. I need to go set up a new branch. Oops, let's move it over here. And so let's say, give me a new branch, 2336. We name our branches after the issue number in GitHub just to kind of make things easy to tie together. SPBlitz first, rounding, wait times, new branch. Create my branch, and then the summary of my fix is going to be related to 2336, SPBlitz first, rounding wait times, and then closes 2336. Did I put the wrong number inside there? It's so hard to see on this little bitty. There we go. Closes 2336. So let's go see how our code looks back over here. So our 60-second sample finished. Oh, that's actually nice the way that worked out. So this works beautifully. So I'm going to say this time around we had 68.5 seconds of wait time divided by a 59-second sample. That's right here. Divided by 4 cores. I don't need to write out cores. And if we did our jobs right here, that should equal or round out to 0.3. So let's go see. Execute, and it does. Oh, Perfect. That's fantastic. So we have fixed the bug. I am a happy camper. Let's go back over to SPBlitz first. I'm going to save it. And the way that we do our versioning, you know, you see over at the top of FamDave caught. I should look at what's FamDave's full name. What's the right way to refer to FamDave? Oh, I don't know how to do that yet from here. Oh, I don't know how to do that from here. Dave Fam. Oh, okay. See, that makes it easier. All right, Dave. There we go. So the way that Dave, or Cookie Monster, oh, even better. The way that we do our versioning in here is whenever it's time for releases, we'll go in and update this string right here to say what the release is. Otherwise, we just commit straight into commit into branches and merge those into the dev branch. All right, so we got that guy in. We will close that. We'll close that. No. We'll close that. No. And come back out of here. And so here are the changes that we made in our check-in. I will go ahead and I love how GitHub Desktop automatically color codes the stuff that you change. So you can see at a glance, here's exactly what I ripped out. I ripped out that divided by 60 divided by 60. Say commit. I'm going to publish my branch. So now, and for those of you who are new to GitHub, right now it's still kind of my code. Now I'm going to go create, and I own the repo, so the way that I work in the first responder kit is a little different than the way that most of you work. Dave says, do you pull request back into dev and then review? Yes. Well, me personally, when I'm doing my own code, the review you just saw is what I do, and that's the end of it. So I'm going to go click create a pull request, and I'm going to go do a pull into the dev branch. And of course, because I'm me, I will just assign myself, and I will put this in the milestone for the April release. Create the pull request. And as long as this thing is able to deploy or merge automatically, we will merge the current pull request and confirm. We don't have any automatic testing going on inside here. This is where I get so jealous of the work that Richie does because Richie has all kinds of automatic testing set up for his. Richie's the developer on the team, Joris, over there in chat. There was a point where we wanted to hire a developer who specializes in like AppVeyor and GitHub to automatically, whenever somebody does a check-in, spin up a VM in AppVeyor, try to deploy the scripts, maybe run some tests against them, just to see if at least they would compile, so that when people did pull requests, we could at least verify that their code compiled. Because there were like a couple of years there where people's code couldn't even compile. Dave says, if dev is more up to date than my branch, do I merge or do I rebase? I'm really lucky because I maintain the project. So because I maintain the project, and I should kind of, I love maintaining that project. Because of I maintain the project, I don't have to worry about my stuff being behind. Generally, if I have to work on something for a long period of time, I will break it up into smaller increments. Like I'll work on it for one day and then shove it back in there. So then let's delete that branch, delete the old branch, and now I'm up in dev. Now there's something else that's interesting about this that I kind of want to show y'all too. So this is a part that I'm not proud of. It's more manual work than anything else. I got to go through this in the milestone. But now I need to add this to the release notes for our blog, for the blog site, so that y'all can see whenever we update the latest first responder kit. So let's go hop into BrentOzar.com. And look at posts. Inside posts, I keep a draft post in there for the consultant toolkit, and then I can go in and say stuff like, I made this change to SPBlitz or SPBlitz first, so here's the one. So fix wait stats per core per hour number was rounding down too small due to extra division, and it wasn't joy division. Number 2336, there's no one else involved in that pull request, so I'll just link me. Then I'll pop back over to SPBlitz first. I'll pop back over to GitHub, copy that out, and paste this over here. Whoopsie daisy. Copy this, it'll paste, and go. just so that way it's in for when we do our monthly release notes. I would love to just point everybody over to GitHub and just go, you go check out the release notes there. But it just doesn't feel like developers are really ready for that. Not developers. I mean SQL developers, not developers. It doesn't feel like people are really ready for that level of go over to GitHub and see what we did. It feels like they still want it in more of a friendly release process or friendly release note. Okay, I should stop for a second and say thank you to our sponsor for this week. Our sponsor for this week is Quest Software. So Quest is doing database days where they do a series of webcasts for the quarantines. We've like one a week for all kinds of different topics. Me, Pinal Dave, Janice Griffin, all kinds of people are speaking about SQL Server performance topics. It's all completely free, and you can register over at brentozar.com/go/database days. brentozar.com/go/database days. Dave says, hi, I'm a C# dev and Git is the source of the truth. I am right with you there. I feel exactly that same way. Now that I'm into GitHub, it took me dragging and screaming, like Jeremiah Peshka, one of my original business partners, kind of dragged me kicking and screaming into source control. I just totally, it sucked. I had a really hard time because I'm a developer of old Visual Source Safe at heart, let alone modern stuff like distributed source control. Now I adore it though. Oh my God, it's awesome. It's so cool to be able to have lots of people working around the world on different improvements, and they can see what changes were made to the code. Fantastic. The Leguk says we definitely agree on non-full stack developers don't. Yeah, if you're a full stack developer, it's so much easier to be used to distributed source control, whereas a lot of, especially I need a haircut due to the quarantines, but you can really see the gray hair now. A lot of database administrators got their start way before distributed source control was popular. I don't want to say before it was a thing, but before it was popular. And just we're not good at source control. We as database people absolutely suck at source control. It's terrible. I saw an interesting thing on Hacker News this morning about somebody, might have been earlier, on source control for data. There was somebody who wanted to do a source control for data. And if you've never used this search down at the bottom of Hacker News, it's ridiculously fast. It's just wonderfully beautiful fast. So last 24 hours, let's see. Now, and of course, no, that's maybe it was more than a week ago, or maybe it was more than a day ago, maybe it was yesterday, past week. I want decentralized version control for structured data, and I'll go paste that over in the chat. So dump that out there. I'm like, yeah, sure, of course you do. We all do. You know, I would love to have a GitHub for data. I just don't see that coming, a good one anytime soon. It's just so hard. Okay, so coming back out of that, Richie says, I want a pony, but I'm not going to get that. Well, technically, you have a Mustang, but all right, so, I should, Dave says, pony, I'd take the Ferrari, which we should branch off for a second here and see what's going on Bring a Trailer today. So Bring a Trailer on their auctions, let's see what we've got. So because you mentioned Ferraris, we'll look and see what Ferraris are up right now on Bring a Trailer. It's kind of expensive. The 355 is beautiful, but I don't know about fly yellow, and $47,000. Oh, that's gorgeous. Oh man, that 348 Spider, I'm all about that. I'm a Magnum PI fan at heart. So this, if I was going to go somewhere, oh man, that is amazing. It says Redgate has a few nice source control tools. They do, they absolutely do. It's just not easy and intuitive. It's just hard work in order to get set up. And I've had several clients who just kind of struggled trying to get it up and running. So. Okay, so we did that. Let's switch back over into the dev branch and then fetch, pull down our changes. Not that, in fairness, not that anything about data is super intuitive. The development's the same story. It's still not an easy story in terms of development. which is one of the reasons I got excited about Azure Data Studio. Is I think Azure Data Studio feels more like Visual Studio, so I think that it's starting to bridge the worlds a whole lot more. They had the Visual Studio Data Dude for a while, and I don't mean to demean that by any means, but it just felt like Microsoft was totally had the squirrel attention span going on, and they weren't really paying attention to fixing problems with it or making it a real big tool. All right, next up. Let's see, what do we want to tackle next? Let's see if, well, we'll stay with SPBlitz first. This one's going to suck, and I'm avoiding it like mentally already. So what you can do is you can set up SPBlitz first to run every 15 minutes on an agent job if you want. And what that does is it gathers your SQL Server's data, your performance data, and logs it to a table. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to go over to brentozar.com. And if you go up to the top, there's this thing up here that says scripts. There's me. There's a thing up there that says scripts, and there's a Power BI dashboard for DBAs. This is a set of tools that I give out to people. I'm less interested in the Power BI stuff these days. I just don't honestly use the Power BI as much as I thought I would. But I do use the logging your DMV data to tables. So that's this piece right here, and I give you the stored procedure commands that you want to run. I'm going to go pop back over to SSMS. And the idea is that you set up an agent job to run this command every 15 minutes and log your diagnostic data to disk. And you log it in a central database like, say, DBA tools. And I do nothing to do with the PowerShell repo, which is amazing. It's fantastic. Just I happen to have the same name for my repository of tool stuff that I use. So, and you can use any database name that you want. Then it logs the same file stats, perfmon stats, and wait stats that we were looking at earlier. The same one in a bug that I just fixed around the per core per hour numbers. But this one is a little interesting. So what it does is it'll call SPBlitz Cache as it runs as well, and it'll get only, Dave says I was just going to investigate Power BI. I love Power BI, just not necessarily the performance dashboard for DBAs. I wouldn't put your time into that one because I'm going to just gradually segue away from that as well. Just got to, I was never here. So one of the things it can do is it can log your plan cache. And what this does, when it has a table name in here for Blitz Cache, what it's really doing is it's calling SPBlitz Cache sort order equals all minutes back equals 15. And then it's also throwing in the output database parameters. Okay, so what this combination of parameters does, first the sort order equals all, that calls SPBlitz Cache itself. It says, go run for the most CPU intensive queries, go run for the most read intensive queries, go run for the most longest running queries, whatever. And for each one of those, it only looks at queries that ran in the last 15 minutes. Well, it builds a big, long dynamic SQL string, and what I think is happening is that string is going up into memory every time. Dave says, so then we're logging data every 15 minutes, but how do you read the data in a nice fashion for managers? It's not that I don't think you need it. I think you do for managers. I just don't want to be the person who builds it and delivers it. So true story, there was a point in my life where I was working in data warehousing and I had to make the choice between working in SQL Server reporting services. Originally I did some Crystal Reports work. Should I go into SQL Server reporting services? And I was like, you know what? I could go the rest of my life and never want to hear the phrase again, can you move the number 4 pixels to the left? Can you put commas in here? Can you make this a bar chart instead of a line chart? Can you move the lines closer together? Nope, not that close, a little further apart. Nope, it's kind of like me with my penny paranoia around accounting. Like, not really interested in the small picture, I'm really interested in the big picture. Okay, so I think what I'm going to be able to do to reproduce it is I don't even need to call SPBlitz first. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to free the plan cache. You wouldn't normally want to do this in production, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to do this. and then I'm going to go see what's inside the plan cache afterwards. And I'm going to do it twice. I'm going to do that, run that twice, and then I'm going to run select. How do I want to do that? Oh, I have a query for it. The query that I'll use is the query from my blog. Dave says, in production. Multiple queries, one plan, Brent, Ozar. I have a blog post about this exact problem, and this is how we ended up finding the problem itself. Is I have a client who underwent plan cache bloat because they had all these dynamic SQL queries that weren't parameterized properly, like the examples in the post talking about Brent, Ozar, and Lady Gaga. Well, before we had the problem that we had earlier this week, today's a Monday, kind of guess that gives away when I worked on it. And so then the client watches it, they know that it's them. I mean, I told them I was writing the issue in the first responder kit anyway, but it's just kind of funny to narrow it down that hard. They fixed their dynamic SQL problems for the most part. You still have some work to do. But now the biggest problem is SPBlitz first, and especially because they have nice beefy servers with lots of RAM, so they can cache plans for a really long time. We ran this query in this post in order to find queries that had thousands of instances in memory. So that's exactly what I'm going to run here. Let's zoom this way back out to make it more realistic to see. So what we're going to do is we're going to dump the stuff into the plan. I might as well run that like 10 times. So I'm going to run SPBlitz cache several times in a row. Then I'm going to go run this redundant queries piece that'll go through, and I guess I got to finish with a semicolon there. I'm going to then go back and check to see which queries are the most duplicated in cache, and I expect to see SPBlitz cache come back. I don't really need to run it 5 times. Let's just start with 3. So let's execute. Now what the heck did I screw up there? I wonder if it has to do with the Go 3. I bet it does. Wow. So you can't have a semicolon at the end of the Go? Is that true? Let's execute. Oh, that is true. Oh, that's delightfully terrible. So you can't end the Go line with a semicolon, but as long as you put it on the next line, you're okay. Always try to be. So, of course, the reason behind a semicolon is before a with. The statement before a with has to be terminated with a semicolon. Technically, T-SQL queries that are not terminated in semicolon, Microsoft has the right to deprecate them. I mean, they did deprecate T-SQL queries that don't end with a semicolon. So in theory, in some future version, they could remove support for queries that don't end in a semicolon. They will, or statements that don't end in a semicolon. If I was a betting man, I would lay down massive, I would bet you one solid gold pineapple that they would never do that. Okay, you can tell it's not really solid gold because it's not even really gold. Look, let's not be picky. But I would bet you one golden pineapple that why would you even ask where this pineapple has been? That's not appropriate. So I would bet you one golden pineapple that they would never ever do that, because if they did enforce that all statements had to end in a semicolon, immediately, PG already went there, immediately you'd stop upgrading because you wouldn't want your application to break. Okay, so what happened was SPBlitz cache ran a few times. I am not worried at all about the contents of the first 3 queries. Those were SPBlitz cache. They don't matter. Here are the queries that I am worried about. These are the queries that are coming out of SPBlitz cache. So each time that SPBlitz cache is running, it's dumping these T-SQL statements up into cache. Well, why? I want to be a good citizen, and I don't want to do that. This would normally never be a performance problem. The only reason it's a problem is because you could leave a SQL server up for months on end. The best streamer. Why, thank you. You could leave a SQL Server up for months on end, and then after several months, SPBlitz cache would have hundreds or thousands of these lines in the plan cache. So let's go see what's going on. Let's see what everybody wants to immediately click on the query text. I'm not going to do that here. I'm actually going to go to the query plan, and I'm going to go grab the query text out of here. So edit my query text. Now, at the top, the very first thing that's up there, this is the declared text for the dynamic SQL. So declare, I'm just going to turn it into that. Go over to the end and then put a semicolon there. And now this will make a little bit more sense. Okay, so we have an insert into a temp table. I wonder if the way that we create that temp table's doing it. Anytime I see Gawanga says my stereo is all weird. Okay, cool. And if you think it's me, tell me more about what it is, because it might totally be me. I'm not monitoring my own speaker. It could, if the audio's weird. Oh, Joris would have told me anyway if my audio was weird. Joris is like me. He's an audio nerd. Oh, Joris says it's only left channel. Oh, hold on. Let's fix that out. Mixer. Joris says fix it after the stream. Joris, ye of little. Oh, you know what? I have a way to fix it, and it's going to be kind of tricky. Okay, so hold on a second here. Just a second. Loop back. I'm going to. That is now on, and now. Let's see. Hold on. You're getting two of me, I know. Disable. Done. Okay. So now I'll see if it's coming out both channels. Now is it perfect. Okay, cool. I want to wrap my mouth around your ears or whatever it is. Somebody says over in Slack, what's a link to today's webcast? I will go over into Slack and show them. So that free video, that is not, it's the post. It's the post. Click on the post. The video is there. Reading. Not just for fundamentals. Giphy, the more you know. I'm a jerk. I'm a terrible, terrible person. I know, but whatever. Jonathan, play a soundboard. You know just how to test. There we go. Or what else could we do?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh. So now I got to figure out what's going on with this guy. Normally when I'm looking at queries that for some reason don't, let me tweak one thing because it's giving me I do not want that's not what I want. Let me move this over. All right, try now. Is that better? That's why I have it should monitor. I could have swore that was going to come through differently. Stop touching the sap. Okay, there we go. Let's close that back out then. All right. So normally when I'm looking at for troubleshooting why SQL is or dynamic SQL strings are showing up repeatedly in the plan cache, the first thing that I look for is stuff in where clauses, like maybe it is where pattern, is greater than or equal to 2020-0401, like hard-coded strings inside there. That's not the case inside here. Here, all this stuff looks like it's generic strings. It doesn't look like they're changing every time. The other thing that's interesting with this is there is option recompile scattered all over the place. There's a known issue around using option recompile with dynamic SQL, and I can't remember exactly what it is, and just that to some extent it's not going to work. So what I am interested in is then if this is being executed by dynamic SQL, can I get it to not show up in the plan cache every time? It's either something to do with SPExecute SQL or it might be something to do with this temp table. Paul White has this great series of blog posts on, pop out over here. So Paul White temp table reuse. I'm going to copy paste the Google link in there, not because I don't want to give credit to Paul's blogs. It's just because he has several posts in there that he's written over the years where he talks about temp table caching. So now, with that in mind, now I'm going to come to temp table caching second because it's harder work in order to troubleshoot. I'm going to start with something more simple. What's declaring this string? How's it being run? And can I reproduce it much more simply? All right, so we've just recently or updated the GitHub repo. So let's go over to that ctemp folder where I've got the GitHub repo, go into SPBlitz cache, and to jump to where that T-SQL is at, what I'm doing is I'm taking a piece of the execution or the T-SQL from the execution plan, copying that, and so I'm copying here, and then I'm going to do a search inside of SPBlitz cache for this. Okay, great, fantastic. All right, so there could be tabs or spaces in here. Let's just try this. Ha, yeah. Okay, so let's see if that's the only one. It's probably not. What? No, really? Find previous? That's it? That's all of them? Okay. So, I declare, it's got my database. Oh, database name. Well, we're not doing it multiple times for different databases. That shouldn't change. Daytime offset, that's not going to change. Okay, so let's try something simple then. Let's try just running SPExecute SQL and see if it duplicates itself in the plan cache. So what we saw earlier, the way that we saw the symptoms was that we freed the plan cache, then we ran this query. Let's do the same thing, but with the simplest test setup that we can. Cut this out. And let's rip out the middleman. Let's take out SPBlitz cache. Let's go down to really simple, just running a variable. Let's say declare T-SQL to exec and varchar 4000. We're going to say, let's set the contents of it. Select star from stack overflow DBO users where display name equals display name. And then exec says SPExecute SQL. And then the first one is the T-SQL to exec. Second one is our parameter string, so display name and varchar 40. And then Brent Ozar. We should set a variable for that. So we'll do that too. Comma, display name and varchar 40 equals Brent Ozar. Okay, so we got that. Now we have display name. All right, go 3 times. Then let's go in and run our redundant queries thing and see what happens. I got to put a semicolon. So what I'm about to find out is I always try to guess what the test results will be before they come in. It's probably like a doctor as patients come in. I bet you're positive. I bet you're negative. And they're probably wrong all the time. I bet that when I run this, let's see if this ends up declaring multiple times. And I don't have a recompile hint on it yet. Let's see if it shows up multiple times in the plan cache. Let's see if we understand the problem first. All right, so execute. The results of the first 3 queries I don't really care about, and then I don't have anything duplicated in the plan cache. Okay, so nothing came out of this second query, which shows me all the duplicated plans in the cache. Am I getting plan cache reuse? Skip analysis equals 1. So SPBlitz cache goes faster if you skip all the analysis of the plans in the cache. Here's what I was interested in. I am getting plan reuse. Dun, dun, dun. I have one query. It's been reused 3 times. This is not what we were seeing when we're calling SPBlitz cache's strings. Okay, so if that doesn't reproduce it, let's try with a temp table. So let's say create matching, let's just make it real simple. Temp table. You got to put a table first there, Speedy. Create table, temp table, results int. And then in here, we'll say drop if exists. Drop if exists. Drop table if exists. If exists, temp table, go, and we'll leave that as is. Okay, so then we're going to use the temp table inside here, insert into temp table results, select count star. Okay, so now we got the use of a temp table. And what I'm wondering is if the usage of a temp table causes this thing not to be cached, although it's the same temp table every time. Okay, so because this is the same temp table, I'm not changing the structure of the temp table at all. I'm not dropping it and then reusing it. I think I'm still going to get just one plan here. Or rather, I'm going to get one for a insert into a temp table, and it will have executed 3 times. Let's go see. Let's go see. Let's go see. And we do. So here's my insert, and it has 3 executions. Okay, cool. So the plot thickens. Now let's try to reproduce it by doing all of that in one batch. Inside one batch, and I'm going to tab it over just to make it obvious. Every time I'm dropping the temp table and recreating it. Let's see what that does. Execute. This is where Paul White stuff comes in handy. Okay, yeah, see, so I'm getting plan reuse in here as well. Getting the number of executions is 3. So let's see if it has to do with the way that we create our temp table as well. So let's go back over to SPBlitz cache. So it's inserting into, let's go back to the original query. It's inserting into this BOU all sort. Let's go see how that is created. So if object ID is null, begin create table. Now, are we changing that object in any way? Are we adding an index to it later? We're doing an insert update, insert update, insert update, insert update, insert update. I don't see anything about modifying the table because I was worried about like adding indexes could cause it not to be cached and reused, but nope, that doesn't look like the deal at all. Okay, cool. So in that case, let's try that. I'm going to try just for laughs this if object ID is null. That's interesting. That's odd. There's a space there? Who did that? Has that always been like that? I'm surprised that even works. It's kind of marvelous. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to take that exact structure, come over here, and then we'll go up here. I'm going to create the temp table. I'm going to create it exactly the same way. And when I do my insert, I'm just going to insert into, say, CPU weight. Does anything say not null? No. Okay, so let's fold you down. Now I'm not going to do the drop table. I am. No, I'm not going to do it like that though. So now I don't need the create table. Now I'm going to say insert into BOU all sort. This what I said was like CPU weight. All right, so we got there. Now I'm going to go, how do I want to do that? I kind of want to drop the table in between passes. So let's go. I'm going to do go, and then I'm going to drop table BOU all sort. So let's just highlight this. Oh, you moron, Kupu weight. Oh. So let's free the plan cache, and then let's create this a few times. And now let's check our redundant queries and SPBlitz cache. Redundant queries doesn't show anything. And SPBlitz cache shows 4 executions. So the plan is getting reused. That is not the problem. So it doesn't appear, at least from the outside, like that's causing a lack of plan cache reuse. Okay. Plot thickens yet again. All right, so now let's take the production stored procedure. I say production. Now let's take the original stored procedure, and I'm going to start ripping things out of it to see if I can get plan cache reuse. I'm going to start by just commenting out frickin' everything in this dynamic SQL piece and doing the bare minimum of just one insert and an exec just to see if we still have the same problem. So we know that it's in, like we'll call it right here, BOU all sort. So insert BOU all sort, there it is. So here's the beginning of this script that doesn't get reused. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take out frickin' everything but one sort option. So let's just delete it all. And then I'm going to delete this part out too because I don't really care about that. I'm going to take all this stuff out. All this off is just building the sort order longer. So I'm going to rip that out. I think, was this for? Yeah, this is for sort order equals all. All right, so let's give that a shot. Let's put the new version of this stored procedure out into place. I'm going to put it in master. Now I am going to dump the plan cache, go back to our original testing method. I'm going to dump the plan cache. I'm going to run SPBlitz cache 3 times, and let's see what happens. And of course, SPBlitz cache always takes a while to run, so there it is. Still have to configure my Stream Deck with a mute button. I had to get my audio sources all working just right before I went and did that. There's a hard mute button on my Sennheiser microphone. It's just a pain to go get to when I usually leave it in my back pocket. Let's see. Executed successfully. What the heck are you talking about? There's supposed to be 3 of those. It's meta to tune a query, used to tune queries. And it's also, if you ever open the SPBlitz cache source code, there's dynamic SQL that builds dynamic SQL. All right, so that's kind of odd. It should have run this 3 times. Was I highlighting something specific? Execute. I should get more than 3 result sets back. Oh, I guess not. Maybe there's a bug in SPBlitz cache. Oh, look at that. Okay, wait. Maybe if I'm not getting SPBlitz cache skip analysis equals 1, maybe I'm getting plan cache reuse now. Big money, no whammies. Which is, I don't know why I get excited. It just means that now I got to go on to the next step of figuring out why those strings are getting reused now and they weren't before. Now I don't have anything in the plan cache. Great. Debug equals 1. So with SPBlitz Cache, it has a nice little debug mode that will dump out the queries that it's running over into a separate tab. So here, why didn't it actually, did I delete something that, no, it should have run right there. It should have actually executed this. This should have been the string that it just executed. Oh, man, this isn't any fun. All right, so let's go back to the stuff that we ripped out and start ripping that back in. Boom. Okay. So now it's all back in. Let's put that back into production. Let's run dbcc free proc cache. Run again. And then make sure that I just actually still have the problem. So then it comes down to which lines I'm going to need to rip out to make it work. Or it's not rip out. I'm not going to be able to rip out. I say rip out, but it's only going to be temporary that I rip that out because I have to, it still has to produce the same results. That's taking a moment, so I should probably now go in and record the sponsor for this week. So this week's sponsor is Quest Software, who's doing a new Database Days series of webcasts, all totally live with me, Pinal Dave, Jonas Griffin. For example, on April 28th, the first one up that I'm doing in 2 weeks, it's how to measure your SQL server, where I'll be talking about wait stats, the same metrics I was showing you earlier with SPBlitz first when I fix that bug. I guess this means that I do have to release the fixed version of SPBlitz first before that webcast, because I can't have that webcast go live while that proc still has a bug, because people will go download the proc, and then they're going to be asking why their wait types don't round correctly. Although none of y'all caught it for years, so I don't know why I'm suddenly worrying about it now. That's all right. So now the SPBlitz cache ran 3 times. Let's go check to see if the plans are duplicated. They are. Okay, so the plans are duplicated in memory. Oh, you know what else is kind of interesting? So these have, I just noticed something kind of cool. Okay, when you call all of a sudden, Eureka. So let's go back to what this thing is doing. Let me come way back up to here and zoom in a little bit to show it better. So what SPBlitz cache does is it builds a big long string that calls SPBlitz cache. It executes itself, and it's going to execute itself several different ways. It calls itself by reads, by executions, by durations, by memory grants, whatever. All of a sudden I noticed something. I think that it happens to call itself probably 7 times. And I think that these groupings, so there's one grouping in here for 7. There's another grouping in here for 7. I think that what's really happening here is I bet the plan cache shows up as bloated even if I only run SPBlitz cache once, because the thing that's happening is this shouldn't run 7 times. We shouldn't be calling it for all sort orders every time. I think it's something else here. So to find out, to prove it, all I'm going to do is go once. I'm going to free the plan cache, have it run once, and then I bet just even from once, I'm going to get duplicates in the plan cache. Let's go hit execute. And let's go see. I'll put music on and y'all tell me what you think, whether you prefer having music on or not while you're watching a live stream. So let's see in here. And, I got to change the volume. Not mute, just come up just a little. So let's see. Usually when I'm coding, I like listening to some kind of electronic dance music, something fairly fast. That is not fast enough. And is that low enough for you? You think it's that? Oop, I went even way all the way out. I should take like a poll at some point if I get professional. He says not bad. This will be funny to see what like overall what the audience says. Let's move it up to like 3%. There we go. And I'll leave it on for a couple of minutes and then I'll take a poll with y'all. Okay, so sure. Oh, this is great. It actually happened. So I only ran SPBlitz Cache once. I ran it once with a sort order equals all, and then I got the duplicate stuff in the plan cache. Oh, that's fantastic. So the bug isn't in the all script creation. It's in each time that it runs. Oh, so I think I misunderstood which T-SQL was coming out of here. Let's shrink this way back down, 150, declare, and copy you over here and get you out. So here, insert into all code. So it's the thing that's, oh, insert into BOU all sort. It's there. I wonder if Redgate SQL prompt will clean this up. And I don't have it installed on my VM. It's not that Redgate SQL prompt isn't awesome. It is. It's just that I jump around between machine to machine so frequently that I can't usually have third-party tools installed, like whenever I'm doing tuning for clients. But if I was a DBA tomorrow, I would have some kind of SQL formatter on my machine. I've used SQL prompt for years, so that's pretty cool. I'd probably start there. Let's see if it'll clean this up. Nope. And I bet that the problem with it is just because it's all in one line and the things like aren't separated with semicolons. Okay, that's fine. So let's come back out and instead, let's go get it from the execution plan and come back out here and edit query text. Here we go. So this is the one. So, that shouldn't be running 7 times. I shouldn't be running this 7 times at all. And yet when I went and saw how many times it was in the plan cache, let's look at the first and last plan creation time. It went into the plan cache several times. Okay, so now the music's been going for a few minutes. Y'all tell me in chat whether or not you prefer it with the music on or music off. Because I don't mind either way. I say I don't mind either way, but that's because I have like an audio player coming from my pocket so that I can be listening to stuff even when y'all don't hear it. Let's see what you think. He says either is fine. Maybe survey says y'all are either is fine. Whatever makes you feel comfortable. Oh, y'all are so sweet. All right. So these have different plan creation times. Even the all sort shouldn't be running that many times. This is really intriguing. Why would this query be running? People say no problem either way. All right, cool. I expected to have like rabid reactions. When I'm watching other people do their thing, I kind of like the music in the background, but just vaguely, but just because it's some kind of white noise in the environment. But at the same time, I don't usually play music when I'm watching someone else. I just kind of usually only have one audio source on. Okay. We shouldn't be running exec blitz cache 7 times. I think we have a different bug. The string shouldn't even be created 7 times. So now I'm going to do something really weird. Let's do, how do I want to prove that? George says, dead mouse. How do I want to prove that this thing is running 7 times? One way that I could do it is I could put some kind of trigger inside SPBlitz cache that every time this query runs, I would raise an error or print something. Another way that I could do it is I could look at system exec query stats. System exec query stats will have a line in there for each time that it was executed. Let's go see. Let's go see. So the way that SPBlitz cache gets its data is select star from sys DM exec query stats. It's a good point, actually. That is a good. And I talk fast, so yeah, that is actually a good point too. So select star from system exec query stats. So every query that gets executed, I'm generalizing. Every query that gets executed is going to have a line in system exec query stats if it's different, which is the whole problem that we're troubleshooting here. So I've got to go figure out how I want to identify them. Query hash is probably a good one. Where query hash equals boom. Let's go see what we've got. Oh, okay. So it's one batch with different statements in it that are identical. You dirty. Okay, so here's what it is. Oh, this is so stupid. So the query that's getting duplicated, let's go back and see the redundant queries. Oh, I'm going to be so pissed. It's not that I'm going to be. I am so pissed. This is so stupid. Okay, so what we have here is this diagnostic query is saying, hey, buddy, I'll use my clippy voice for a minute. Hey, buddy, you have 7 plans. Yes, you nailed it. Ding, 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 ding. Although I shouldn't be happy about that. These are not 7 different plans. There are 7 similar statements inside the same query plan. Dang it. Okay, so what this is, for example, this update all sort. The diagnostic query that I'm using is saying, hey, buddy, you have this update all sort. Oh, and then you got another query down here with, well, the update's a bad example because it's using an update of reads. Let's say, for example, this select top one and shush. So this select top one ish also appears several times inside here. Here it is again, select top one ish. And to this diagnostic query, it looks like the same query is being repeated multiple times in different plans, but it's the same plan. You suck so bad. The problem isn't SPBlitz cache. This one is this diagnostic query, which to some extent I kind of understand. It's not like we would ever expect people to run the same statements over and over again inside the same batch, statements that are absolutely identical. But here we're doing it to prep SPBlitz cache, setting up different stuff each time before we call it. Dag nabbit. So the problem isn't with SPBlitz cache, the problem is in the diagnostic query. Oh. So what this diagnostic query needs to be able to do is it needs to be able to differentiate between each of these lines to understand that even though they're the same query, it's the same query, they just appear inside the same batch in different places. So I got to figure out how I'm gonna need to say where they have a different SQL handle, perhaps. Oh, so now we got here because we're fixing a bug supposedly in SPBlitz cache. Now I got to go make a note in the GitHub issue that this isn't actually an SPBlitz cache problem. Oh man, if somebody else had submitted this bug request, I would say I'd be really pissed, but I would think it was the same. It would be the same. If somebody else submitted it, I would still probably feel the same way. Disappointed. Disappointed. That's how I would feel. All right, so it turns out, yes, it's a feature. Yeah, works as designed. It turns out, well, actually, even better, plot twist. It turns out, as I so skillfully displayed live on Twitch, doing troubleshooting, that the problem isn't SPBlitz cache, but in this diagnostic query that looks for redundant plans in the cache. So where's that blog post? There it is. Boom. I have no idea who wrote that crappy query. Narrator. He actually knew. But they were an idiot. Narrator, we agree on that part. When they didn't think of identical queries being repeatedly run as part of the same batch. The diagnostic query needs to account for multiple rows in sysdm exec query stats that have the same query hash but different. It's like start date, statement start offset and statement end offset, because they're at different places inside the plan, inside the big long string. Different statement start offset and statement end offset values because they're appearing multiple times inside the same batch, aka same SQL handle. Closing with extreme shame. Narrator, good idea, and working on the blog post instead. Okay, so now at least we know what we got to go fix. I've got to assign myself. Good, I am assigned, and it's not a bug. Let's remove that. It is related to SPBlitz cache. I guess it's kind of related to SPBlitz first, too. Okay, now I got to go fix that. All right, so next up, I kind of want lunch. How long have we been going for? Oh, over an hour. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what I'm going to need to do. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to write a better version of this query that's going to be able to account for this situation. And I'm going to write the repro in order to always, whenever I think I understand a problem, I want to write the reproduction as simple as possible without relying on anything else from the outside, just to make sure that if I have this nice standalone piece, it breaks the same way that I expected it to break before. Let's see, if we did this right, dbcc prod cache go, then switch over to stack, select star from DBO users where display name equals Brent Ozar. And then let's do it at several different places inside the same batch. Go 10. And then after that, we're going to rerun our diagnostic query. I want to get it right off the blog just in case I accidentally screwed something up. Copy and paste. So what I expect to happen after I blow the plan cache and I run this, it runs 10 times, then I expect to see that plan cache diagnostic query going, hey buddy, you've got redundant plans in the cache. When it's say like some of these appear 4 times, when in reality it's just the same query running over and over again. Let's go see. It's going to finish. Query executed successfully, and boom! Beautiful. Okay, so we have the problem reproduced. Now I just need to go through and fix the query. I'm tempted to just fix the query. Okay, so right now I'm grouping by, so right now it says having count star of query hash greater than 1, and I'm going to say, and count SQL handle? That's not in query stats. I don't think query stats has the SQL handle. I don't think it does. Let's go run this first part. So let's go run the first part, the outside part of the CTE first. Go get me the top 10 queries that have more than one query. How the hell do they have more than one query hash? Let's go see. Let's go see. I don't think query handle is in sysdm exec query stats. Select star from sysdm exec query stats. I don't think, oh, it is. Oh, beautiful. And there's our culprit. They all have the same SQL handle. This is going to be easier than I thought. So because SQL handle is in there, I can say not only having query hash greater than 1, but also and count distinct SQL handle greater than 1. See if that works. Big money, no whammies. Big money, no whammies. Yes. So that's sweet. Okay, so now at least that point we have a new diagnostic query. I don't know that it produces the right results, though. I made that mistake already once. That's what got us here. So now I know that it's ruled out that select star from this users where display name equals Brent Ozar. Now I need to catch that it's actually showing queries if they are legitimately duped in the plan cache. To do that, I need to build another little T-SQL test over here. Come back, I guess it was up at the top here. All right, so here was this should not show up as a dupe. Now let's write one that does show up as a dupe. Big money, no whammies. We'll say select star from DBO users where display name equals Joris. I believe it's capital J. And go 5, and then let's do tab and just do some awkward spacing or whatever so that it shows up differently. We'll do a lowercase where. And I believe this one's going to show up as a dupe. I'm not 100% sure. Let's go see. Execute. So it's going off. I cleared the plan cache and I ran the Joris one. They're running now. Drum roll. I'm out of water too. Time to stick to booze. Howdy, how's it going? I think that's the first time you've said anything in this chat too. Also, I should shout out now, I've got my Streamlabs store set up, so now for the first time y'all can actually, not the first time in like 5 years, y'all can actually buy your own mugs too as well. Then let's try our diagnostic query and, you stupid diabolical, this should not show up as a dupe. He says, oh, yes, I'll show you that just for fun. So that's over at Twitch, Brent Ozar. And then if you look down, I believe it's scrolled down there. Yes. So that's in the Streamlabs merch store. I'm going to get the full-blown link for that because that's actually kind of short. There are stickers inside there. There's hats. I'm kind of looking forward to that. I have been meaning to order one of those. So now's the chance when I should probably go do it. So let's see here. Streamlabs. Dashboard. There we go. Merch. Let me give you the full link just over in chat so that you can see the full store in all its glory. I got to link this from our own website and stuff like that. So in theory, when you buy stuff, it's supposed to automatically do shout out type stuff in the channel. So let's go find out. There will come a point where I have to flip my screen so that you don't see. So that looks like a nice sticker. I will take that sticker. And then let's go get the hat. I wanted this hat myself, and that's the exact color I want. I originally was going to do it in white, and I'm like, but that's kind of old person golfing. Nothing wrong with golf, but it's not really my forte there. I used to do electronic golf. There's cancel way over there. So let's go back to red and black. I want that. No, actually, something went wrong. Story of my life. And then let's go see. Well, we'll just start out with that and go see what happens. So where's my cart? That's probably up at the top. Cart. And then there's all my. Hold on a second here. Let me switch over to that. It's had my home address on there. And of course now y'all are all rewinding and showing that. Great, good times. Good, yeah, thank you for not seeing anything. So let's review and pay while we're in here. I need a hotkey for that too to make that happen faster. Flat rate shipping. Yep, that looks good. Confirm order. And y'all can all also send me all kinds of gifts over there if you want. And I mean GIFs. I mean gifts. Okay, so order submitted. Wow, I didn't even have to put in my credit card? That's kind of messed up. All right, so let's see. It says order submitted. It didn't play anything, though. It's supposed to say something over in chat whenever we get an order. Who knows? All right, so back over to coding. Back over to the disappointment. Back over to the terrible disappointment. Submit. back over the terrible display. This should not show up as a dupe, and here it is. Okay, so that's a problem. There are not really 6 plans for that, and these are all in different freaking batches. Or maybe it's not. Maybe Management Studio. No, they should show. Okay, let's try it running it manually just to make sure. Execute. Run just the plan cache. And now instead of using SSMS and its Go 10, I'm just going to hit execute. You know what? These are the same query, though. These are essentially the same query because they're where users display name. Okay, so let's say and Joris and location equals, I don't know what Joris's location is set up to be in the Stack Overflow database. I don't know if he's technically said like South Florida or Miami, Florida. Okay, so and location equals beautiful Miami, Florida. Let's copy that over there, copy and paste. So that's that piece. That might do it. Because technically now these 2 sets of queries are different. The ones that just say select star from users where display name equals Brent Ozar, that's one query. Where display name equals Joris and location equals Miami, that's a structurally different query because it has a different shape of where clause. So now what should happen is the display name Brent Ozar should not show up as a dupe, and the Richie ones should show up as a dupe. Although I would also say, because there are only 2 dupes, I think I need to filter that out of the diagnostic query as well, because who really cares if there are only 2 different plans in the plan cache? So let's come down further to our diagnostic. Did I not run the diagnostic all in one? No, there it is, and it worked. Yes. Only the Richie one showed up. That is fantastic. So we're making progress there. So as long as I'm now in there monkeying around with this diagnostic query, it's really not enough to say query hash is greater than 1. I really want to say like 10. You should have at least 100 plans in the cache before anybody even worries about it. And 100 sounds good. So let's say 100 and distinct SQL handle, because they got to be different queries. Yeah, that's still fine at 1. Woo! Thank you. I'd like to thank the Academy. I don't know about my form. I don't know that my form was really good for a 10 out of 10, especially since that I was the one who originally wrote this query. But let's give that a shot. So now it's saying where, and I'll throw my extra semicolon in there just so that everything IntelliSenses its way out. So now we have, queries will only show up in there if they show up 100 times, but even if I had it back with just 1, it at least now shows the accurate results. Now, I'm going to go back to 1. I'm going to come to 100 in a second here, but I'm going to go back to 1 just to show you a bug, because this is a legit bug, and I'm just not going to fix this today because I'm more interested in lunch. But if I took the end location out, right now we truly have 1 set of queries for Richie, 1 set of queries for me. If I put Brent Ozar and location equals San Diego, California, if I put that in, these will show up as duplicate queries in the plan cache, because they are. This is the whole problem that you're trying to fix, is when people do unparameterized queries. So let's go below the plan cache. Let's run these 10 times. And even though these look like different queries because they use different strings, they really are redundant queries inside the plan cache. So I want this plan cache warning query to throw a warning here because these really should be parameterized instead of submitted in as strings. Okay, so that part is correct. However, what's also going to happen, and if I run this the way it is right now, and I'll execute it just to show you, this will not show up as a dupe right now because it is a structurally different query. It has display name but not location, so it's not duplicated yet. Let's go through and run this whole shebang. Whole thing's going to run 10 times, and the only one that's going to show up in the results are these 2. Both Richie and Brent in Miami and San Diego, but the top ones that only say where display name will not show up. Come on. There we go. Perfect. So that's exactly what I wanted to see. That part is great. Now here comes the bug. If I make the top ones also have location, and location equals top of the world, let's copy that out because I'm on the top of the world now that I figured out what's going on with that bug, although I'm at the bottom of the toilet because it's a diagnostic script error. Now I'm going to run it again. And now what you're going to see is these ones that say they shouldn't show up as a dupe will show up as a dupe. And they will show up 4 times. Because there is a different SQL handle, these down here, that also have these strings in them. Technically speaking, this is a bug. I'm much less worried about that, though, because the spirit of the results are much more accurate now. So when this thing finally finishes out, you're going to see the things that should not show up as a dupe now show up as a dupe in there. Then once that finishes, I'm going to go edit this blog post. Perfect. So now these show up as a dupe, even though they're not. They actually are dupes. They're just not duplicated times 4. I wish I would show just 1 line in there for it, but got to pick your battles. Okay, so let's change. I had to have query hash greater than 1. I'm going to now say it greater than 100. I'm going to copy this diagnostic query out. I am going to tab over to the blog post, why multiple plans for one query are bad. Let's go edit that post, and we will replace that diagnostic query with the new one. I also have to call it or email the client. I don't ever call anybody. I also have to email the client and tell them, hey, go get the new version of the diagnostic script that is more accurate. Oh, and also SPBlitz Cache doesn't have a bug. Good news, SPBlitz Cache doesn't have a bug. However, my query has a bug. And they can be like, well, they're both your queries. I'm like, well, no, I'm not really smart enough to write SPBlitz Cache. As a result, you get queries like this. And I'm also going to say I'm filtering for only queries that have at least 100 duplicate entries in the plan cache. Yeah, more things to copy paste blindly. Exactly. Run it in production. Do it live. Execute. And I should put a note at the bottom of the blog post. I always wonder when I'm looking at somebody's blogs if it's ever been updated. So let's say update 2020-0413. I try to be the good date format. Update 2020-0413 fixed an error in the diagnostic query. The big one that starts with, what's it? So like with redundant queries? With redundant queries. Starts with redundant queries as because it was returning extra. It was calling because, let's just put it in here. If you had a single batch with multiple identical statements in it, they were showing up as duplicates, oopsie, in the plan cache, when in reality they were just poorly written. Did I say that out loud? Actually, I did on a live webcast as I was troubleshooting this script. I think that's 2 spaces there. There it goes. All right, and that bold. Whoops, nope. It's Control B. The joys of switching between Windows and Mac. All right, bold that and update. And our work here is done, party people. I hope you enjoyed it. I always have fun when I'm working on stuff like this. Having to explain myself out loud as I go, I find that kind of fulfilling because so much of us are the only person in the office who do what we do, whether it's a database developer, database administrator. We're the only person in the office who does what we do. And even without the quarantines, things were already isolated. Like I've had days where I would just be a code slinging ninja as far as a database administrator goes. Not really a code slinging ninja. But I've had times where I was just slinging stuff like crazy, and I get done. I'm like, oh, you'd never, you walk out of the cube. You'd never believe why won't anyone listen to me? No one even would understand what I do. let alone takes pleasure and satisfaction out of whatever it is that I do. Erica and I used to joke around when she used to work for the airlines and when I was doing development, and we would jokingly say to each other, "Hey, how was your day?" And or "Did you have a good day?" And one of us would start saying to the other the things that we did. Well, I opened up this project and I had to edit some code, and the other person, like I would be talking to Erica, the other person would say, "A simple yes or no would have been fine. Did you have a good day or not?" A simple yes or no would have been fine. So yeah, soundboarding against other people helps to walk through things. I like the way Jeff Atwood said it. So Jeff Atwood, Rubber Duck. So Jeff Atwood, one of the founders of Coding Horror, or Stack Overflow, Discord, all kinds of stuff, had this Rubber Duck problem-solving blog post that I really enjoyed a lot, where when you have a problem at the office, the first thing that you have to do is, not the first, but before you ask a human being, you've got to go walk over to a rubber duck and you have to be able to explain your problem to the rubber duck out loud. And that means you're able to explain it to a person. If you can explain it to a rubber duck, then often as you're explaining it, you're like, oh, I know exactly what the problem is. It's because blank. So I find that really fulfilling on webcasts too, as I'm going through and talking through it. All right, well, thanks everybody for hanging out with me today. I will see you in the next stream. I'll try and do these like once every day or two as we go through the quarantines. Thanks, everybody.